recording on now. So as you heard, we are recording this. So you know that it'll be put up on our YouTube channel within a couple of days, hopefully here. So welcome everybody. And I might be a little bit of interrupted here as I'm letting people additional people in. So welcome. It was a nice little win on Saturday. Thought the defense could have definitely looked better, and I don't know. Personally, I didn't think that that Chase, even though he had a good day, was himself. Made a couple of bad decisions. That interception, as soon the split second it left his hand, I said, okay, that's going the other direction, and and then he could have run for that first down towards the end there. So there were a couple of things, and he actually had an uncharacteristic number of overthrows, I thought. But hopefully they got all of the cobwebs out and everything, and they will be looking good for Washington this weekend as they go up there. Washington, themselves haven't looked all that great this year, so hopefully we can get another win out of them. So Washington, 6:30 on Saturday on the Pac-12 network. So I have not spoken to Clubhouse 56 again, because of COVID. We're not doing formal watch parties, but they typically will have the game on. If they don't, if you go in there and say, hey, can we get the Cal game on, they will typically do that. So I know a number of people will be meeting there. And as I say, it's not an official watch party, but hopefully there'll be some Cal fans there. Let's see what else. Next weekend, the game on October 2nd against Washington State is homecoming. So hopefully people will be there for some of the homecoming activities. And for those of you that saw my my reminder today, the Cougars, the local Sacramento chapter of the Cougar Alumni Association, so our counterpart for the Cougars, is actually putting together a Rooter bus to the game. And apparently they do this every other year when for the Cal Washington State game, and it fills up pretty fast. This year, not so much. They have about, when I got the email yesterday from, I believe her name is Kathy Patterson, from who's the president of the club, they had 27 seats available on the bus, and they were trying to fill it, and asked if anybody, to spread the word around the Cal fans, anybody that would like to go on the bus I sent the link out, and if you need it, just let me know, and I can send me an email and I'll shoot you the link to register. But the registration, the deadline is Friday. It leaves Sacramento, I believe she said 10:30. We'll get there around noon. I think that's given these days how long it takes to get to the Bay Area with traffic, I think that's a little bit optimistic, but it should be there in plenty of time for the game, and it will leave to come back to Sacramento right after the game. They're meeting at the IKEA parking lot in West Sac. So and it is $50. So if anybody is interested in that, just let me know, or take a look at the reminder I sent out yesterday, and you can see the link for that.
It must not be a tailgating crowd, otherwise they'd leave at 6 a.m.
Right, exactly. Here's the thing, Rick, is I know what it costs for those buses, and they charge by the hour. So there's a time issue on that. And one of the reasons I am spreading the word is just to help them out a little bit. And from the bus trips that we've done in the past that I've organized, I do understand fully the angst of not having a full bus and breaking even. So and think we can kind of do to help them out. So at this point, I do not have a speaker booked for next week's game. So what I had mentioned early on in the season is that I did want to have one meeting. And so it looks like unless I get a speaker at the last minute, we'll do this next week at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Is I'd like to do a kind of an interactive planning meeting to kind of look, where do we go from here on with Sac Bears. There's a lot of changes, given that we don't have a venue, and just a lot of dynamics going on that I think that we need to, see how do we want the club to operate from here on in, and I really need, input on that. I just don't want to, have the committee to come together and say, here's what we're going to do. I want to find out what people are interested in doing, what they want to see, how they want this to work. So, put it on your calendar. I say we may have a speaker at the last minute, but if not, we'll do this, and it'll be very interactive. We'll go into some breakout sessions and things like that, and come up with some ideas. So that's what we've got coming for next week. After that, on the next ones that I do have confirmation on are Wednesday, October 13th. We'll have Benji Paulu, who was a offensive lineman here at Cal a few years ago. I think he played around the 2017 time, and he is now on staff in the athletic department as the director of on-site recruiting. So on-campus recruiting. So he's been doing an incredible job. So he'll be really good. And then of course, Wednesday, the 27th of October, we've got Charmin Smith coming in. So that'll be good too, with his head basketball coach. And again, when you get the notices for these meetings, feel free to pass them on to other Cal fans that may not be on our list. But do tell them, not if they don't want to get them, to let you know. Don't let them unsubscribe, because they will unsubscribe you, and then you would not get any more notices. And when somebody unsubscribes you like that, or you unsubscribe, it's not just a matter, resubscribing is actually kind of an ordeal. I can't just go in and resubscribe you. It's actually against the law, and the platform MailChimp that we use doesn't allow that. If if I unsubscribe you or you bring out, I can put you back on, but if you've unsubscribed, I can't just go ahead and put you back on the list. They don't allow that. So I have to send you a form, an online form, and all of this. It's a whole to do. So you want to make sure you don't do that by accident. Before we move on to, unfortunately, again, we don't have an opposition speaker. They've been really, really hard to come by this year. Hopefully we'll get one for Washington State next week. And one other thing I just want to mention, I'm going to actually put this in chat as well here. I think last week, some of you may have been trying to ask some questions, and I didn't see you because you were, just waving your hand on camera. I can't see everybody on the screen. So if you're one of the people that are off screen, I can't see you waving your hand and know that you're trying to ask a question or looking. So go ahead and either put your question in chat, or, at the bottom of the screen, when you scroll over at the bottom of the screen, you'll see an icon that says reactions. If you click on that, there will also be one there that says raise hand. And that's something that I would see, like you see mine raising. And that way I know that you're looking to chime in with a question. All right, so with that, let's kind of move forward here. Adam Brooks is with us tonight, and he is going to give us all the deep, dark, dirty secrets running around the athletic department. Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good. I had some technical difficulties last week with Jim there, which is always good to have when your boss is on the call. So I apologize for that. But I know we couldn't get a speaker for Washington to kind of give an opposition kind of breakdown of the team. But what we're looking at from football specifically, Washington is a pro style offense, and they've done it for years. And for those that don't know what a pro style offense is, it's really when, your running backs are great between the tackles. So they're going to try a lot of inside zones, running between their big offensive linemen, smart quarterback who makes really good decisions, and really good O-line. So our defense is going to be put to the test this week. For sure. Their quarterback was the number 5 pro style quarterback in the nation coming out of Washington. And so they got to keep him home, which was really big for their recruiting class. He's a redshirt freshman, I believe. So he's young. They're talented. Skill players are all young. So, for when you have a young class like that, they're going to be probably really good in a couple of years. Their running back, Newton, I think was the 28th recruit in the country, best running back. And they got him from Lancaster, California. And so he's a dope walker preseason watch list coming into this year, and so he's very talented. He struggled against Montana and Michigan, but kind of got it together against Arkansas State, which Washington kind of put it on them a little bit last weekend. I think they got some frustrations out. But as a whole, they've struggled their first 2 games of the year. At home against Montana, they lost that game. Went on the road at the Big House in Michigan and lost that game as well before beating Arkansas State last weekend. Their 2 outside receivers, Jalen Mcmillan is from Fresno, California. He was the number 13 best wide receiver in his recruiting class. He's a freshman, a true freshman, very talented. Likes to play him in the slot as well. So our DBs who struggled last week and have struggled a little bit this season will be put to the test. Absolutely. And then their number 1 receiver, Terrell Bynum, is from Long Beach. He played at St. John Bosco. Also very talented. He's a junior and has kind of been around the program for a while. I'm sure you guys have heard the name when Cal's played them before. But they're really good skill position players, and our defense is kind of going to be put to the test. On a injuries kind of standpoint, I'm sure you guys all saw Coin Dang did not play last week. His injury looks they haven't officially ruled him out for the season yet, from what I've heard, but it'll be long term that he'll miss a lot of games, if not the whole season, which is unfortunate for Coin. He's a staple in our defense and he's a leader. But yeah, we're going to miss Coin for sure. Outside of Coin, we are relatively healthy going into the game against Washington. And a little fun fact, our defensive coordinator, Peter Sermon, his son is the Mike linebacker for Washington. So there is a little bit of a family affair going on this weekend against Washington. But that's kind of the preview and what we're looking at on Saturday. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Adam?
I have one.
Sure.
Adam, I read recently where Cal might lose 2 of their 4-star recruits, the quarterback and the halfback. Have we lost them, or there's still a chance to retain them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually in those cases when they open back up their recruiting process, we will usually lose them. And it's unfortunate those 2 were the highlight of our class for 2022. But yeah, you're spot on. Usually we will, when they open back up their recruiting process, we won't hold on to those 2.
What's the weather report for Seattle this weekend?
Oh, you know what? I actually haven't looked at that. It's a great question. I'm gonna have to look it up. I mean, as we all know, Seattle gets its fair share of rain. I'm sure we'll see some of that, but I can look it up as in between questions and get back to you, Patty.
Okay, it was 122 when we got out in 2019. We
Yeah,
won, but it was, back to the bar.
Oh yeah, I've heard plenty of those stories of the Lightning game, as many call it. Actually, Saturday is supposed to be sunny and 72 in Seattle, so no percentage chance of rain.
Our pass rush wasn't very effective against Sac State. No sacks, not much pressure. Can we expect to see more blitzing or some other changes to get some pressure?
Yeah, in my opinion, we're going to need to. A pro style quarterback, is usually a pocket passer, and that's what Dylan Morris is, the quarterback for Washington. And so guys like Cam Good, Luke Beckett, we're going to need to see some pressure this weekend, and I'm sure Sermon's going to dial up quite a bit of it.
Good.
Hey, Adam, based on sort of follow up with Paul's question, based on the stats I saw after game 3 for Washington, it looked like their offensive stats were way up there, like in the top 20, top 25 on the passing side, but that they were not strong on the running side. I don't know how much of that was affected because they ran up the score in Arkansas State, or is that really what Cal has to be more concerned about, is their passing game, given how weak our passing defense has been lately?
Yeah, our DBs have been struggling. That's been a focal point. If any of you heard Justin's press conference after the Sac State game, he was noticeably upset with that position group specifically. Obviously, Washington's going to watch tape on us. They're going to see that that's, you know, a part that we are, a point that we need to focus on and get better at as the season progresses. But they're going to try and run the ball. Their running back is very good, and you know, in a pro style offense like Washington runs, you can't just sit back in the pocket and try and pick us apart, because as we bring pressure, they're going to want to run the ball and try and get up ahead of the pressure on the outsides. And so you'll see Newton get quite a few touches. I think he's averaged somewhere in the 18 to 20 touch per game. The Arkansas State game may have been different because they were up so big. I think they got some backups in just to get some playing time, but they ran up the score pretty well on Arkansas State. I think a lot of that is confidence boosting for their starters, and then to get their 2s and 3s in the game is something that they were, I think, hoping to do against Montana. Ultimately, they lost that game, and so they never got that opportunity to do that. But yeah, they're going to try and run the ball.
Adam, I imagine there's a bit of frustration on the defensive side. It's good to see the offense starting to score some points, but the defense seems to have fallen down from expectations. What's going on, and what's being done to correct things?
Rick, it's a great question. You know, I think we all watched the game on Saturday against Sac State. That I don't think anyone was happy with our performance on the defensive side of the ball, and that's something that, you know, we're gonna look to change against Washington. I don't sit in on those position group meetings or with our defensive coordinator when he addresses kind of some of the issues we're running into, but you know, as I think it was Paul who asked about the pressure, we're gonna need to start bringing a lot of it to give our DBs some help, you know, because in the first 3 games at least, you know, it's been a little bit of a struggle. So what helps that is pressure and making the quarterback get the ball out of his hands quickly.
All right, any other questions for Adam?
So Adam, to follow up on that, is it more a style issue with the new defensive coordinator? Is why we're not putting as much pressure, or is it the player? I mean, where is it that it's such a big change?
Yeah, in my opinion, Rick, you know, losing Bynum last year was, you know, going into this year was tough. He was a pretty big focal point in our passing defense. We have a lot of young guys that are playing the especially the defensive back position for us, and Justin is working guys through. Sermon's been a part of the program for a couple of years now, so it's not a new defensive scheme by any means, but it's you know, I think it's personnel at this point, and they're working hard to get those guys right. You know, Justin is, I think, feeling the frustration a little bit because he is a defensive minded coach. And so I think when we're giving up the points we are giving up in the first 3 weeks, it's something that hits home. So I know he's doing everything he can to fix that.
Okay. All right, Adam, thank you so much. Always a really good report, and thanks for kind of filling in on giving us some of the scoop on Washington too. So that was good. Didn't think we were going to have anything on that today, so that's great. So I appreciate it, and as always, thanks for being here with us.
Happy to. Thanks, Gary.
Okay, you bet. All right, so I think it is pretty much now time for our main event. About well, I can't remember how many years ago it's been now, but when Matt Sadowski first took over the Cal band, he came up to when we were doing the in-person meetings, and we just had just a fantastic meeting with Matt. He was a lot of fun and gave us a lot of great information. So Matt is back with us today to tell us what's going on with the band and how things are progressing and getting through the kind of this new environment and all. And Matt is actually joining us from the practice field. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Cal Band Director, Matt Sadowski.
Well, thank you, Gary. And it's great to hear all that. And it's great to be back. I did have a great time. I think it was 2 years ago that I drove up to Sacramento, and had a great time. So it's a pleasure to be back. And I hope that everyone's doing well. I see some couple familiar names and hopefully more as the years go by. So yeah, I'm standing here on Maxwell Field. So as I'm standing right now, behind the phone is Memorial Stadium, and right here is our beautiful practice field. We're actually wrapping up early today, it looks like. Typically we rehearse from 5:30 till 7, but we've now made it through our first 2 home games, and the band gets to relax just a little bit now that we've kind of gotten the season up and running again. So I want to be sure to allow some time for questions. So I thought I would just sort of update everybody on what has happened, what's happening now, and where we're going. Obviously, it's a very turbulent time, lots of stuff going on. So I'll start from the beginning of the shutdown, about March 2020. We all go into lockdown, and we're very sad for our seniors. The band does continue to do things throughout the spring. This is a year-round operation, and we transitioned a lot of those planning meetings and other operations to a virtual setting. We unfortunately lost, a Las Vegas trip for men's basketball and a bunch of other stuff that we do in the spring. We were able to have a great spring show online for our members, which is sort of a talent show. It's kind of light entertainment in the spring for the band. And then as the summer sort of wore on, and we were hoping that there might be some light at the end of the tunnel, and it seemed to sort of appear, but then get clouded again. And eventually the worst case scenario hit, which was we're not going to have a season, at least not an in-person one. And so right around shortly before Independence Day 2020, we just had a very honest conversation among ourselves. When I say ourselves, I mean me and the 5 students on the executive committee who run the band. And we said, I think we need to sort of set down our normal plans and start from scratch, so to speak. I sort of likened what we were in for as a tidal wave. If you're the captain of a ship and there's a tidal wave coming toward the shore, you don't tie the boat up and try to run up the hill. You get on the boat and you drive toward the wave in an attempt to get over it and let it wash over the land. And then you come back and you try to dock on what's left and pick up the pieces from there. At least you have your ship and your crew intact. And that's what we did. We focused a lot on our culture internally. The bar was not even lower or higher. It was just totally different for the last year. So we focused on our members. We focused on making sure that they had an outlet, that they had musical engagement, that they were able to make friends with each other. That's one of the biggest pieces of the band, is that it's a social organization too. After it's a performance organization, we wanted to support our new members and make sure that, when we could be in person again, that we'd be able to hit the ground running. And we didn't know whether or not that would be a month or 2 into the school year, or maybe for the last half of the season, or, as things went on, we kind of realized, okay, maybe it's not going to happen at all. But we ran a virtual fall training program. We had students in their bedrooms, their garages, their backyards, marching, being given, marching assignments, and those were administered in a whole bunch of breakout rooms by Mary Miharis, our 2020 drum major, and the stunt crew. And they evaluated students and would send them comments on how to actually march in their bedroom, in their socks and whatnot. We also put together 3 virtual shows. I hope some of you have seen them. If you haven't, they're very easy to find on YouTube. Go to Cal Band, just put Cal Band in, and you'll get a link to our channel. And all of our shows are in playlists by year. So you can just click on 2020 shows and those will pop up. I also encourage you, if you want to read a little bit more about them, head to our website, calband.org. And there's a link on there. I think it's under the media tab. I don't know off the top of my head, but there is a blog somewhere on our website that shouldn't be too hard to find. And there's a great article that was written up by our drum major about how those shows were put together, how we made it through. There are even a few videos by the members themselves where they talk about, kind of like a behind the scenes video where they talk about how we made these videos. They were a lot of fun to make. That being said, never want to do them again. It was tough. You know, they're very time consuming. They're very tedious. It was a good Band-Aid for a short period of time, but you know, now that we're back in person, I can just tell you that the mental health benefits are fantastic, and you know, nobody wants to do anything virtual ever again. But throughout the fall, we really focused on our membership and making sure that people understood how the band works. This was actually recognized by the band and people who saw their performances, but also by outside companies as well too. Our drum major, Mary, I mentioned, she applied for a scholarship for a company called Tonal Innovation. This is a company that makes sort of specific niche products for marching bands. And they ran a scholarship for one high school student and one collegiate student for innovation within the realm of marching band. And she was chosen as that student from across the entire country. She received a $1,000 scholarship and her name on their placard for running the virtual FTP that I mentioned and putting together all of our shows. So what did we learn from all of this? I think we learned that we are very much so not just a football band. And I don't say that pejoratively. I don't mean anything against football, nothing against them at all. But, you know, we like to think that we're more than just halftime entertainment. And this was an opportunity for us to prove that. And I think we came through in flying colors. We've got now 2 classes of people, of students, last year's freshmen and then this year's freshmen. And I should say first years actually, because that includes some people who are not necessarily new to Cal, but are new to the band, as well as some transfer students. So we call them first years in band, second year in band. So we have half the band roughly up until about 3 weeks ago had never marched in Memorial Stadium. And normally we have 3 classes to teach them how to do that, but we graduated 2 classes, so we had 2. That's never been done before. And honestly, now that we're well into it, I have to tell you, our second years are just so impressive. If you didn't know that there was a pandemic and that we hadn't done anything in person last fall, I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference. They're just doing phenomenally. And we're so proud of them. And the new members are there too. You know, this is sort of the unique time of the season right now where we're in about the 4th, 5th week of classes. And this is always the time of year where the reality of the semester sets in and people start having midterms and realizing that it's going to be, you know, it's a while until December. The excitement of move-in has worn off. It's really pronounced this year because of, you know, the fact that people are remembering that you can't just log off and click log in to your next event. You actually have to walk there. You actually have to leave your home and, you know, do all this stuff. So it's exhausting. I'm sure many of you are experiencing that as well in your own lives if you're back to in-person activities. But we finished the year. We finished it strong. We had a new election. We had people step up, and it was very brave of them to do that. Oh, and I have to be sure to commend our seniors. We're so thankful for our seniors. You know, they didn't have to stick around. They didn't have to do the virtual thing. It was their last year, and if the pain had been too much, they could have very easily decided, you know, they were just going to leave the band. And if that had happened, I don't think we would have blamed them. We wouldn't have been mad. But by and large, the vast majority of them stuck around and they participated. You know, they came to all the breakout rooms. They came to the social events. You know, there were a lot of Zoom events where there wasn't really anything going on. It was just a place where people could log in and be with each other while they did homework or whatever. You know, sometimes they would just have the camera on for hours, just studying in their rooms, just to feel the company of other people. And the seniors were a big part of that. And we really appreciate that too. It meant the world to us. And it really was the connective tissue that has allowed us to come back as we have right now. So in terms of membership, you know, we've lost 2 Cal Days in a row now. Cal Day happens in the spring. I'm sure you all know what Cal Day is, but if you don't, it's shortly after the admissions decisions are announced in April, and all of the new admits are invited to campus to, you know, see what's going on, and clubs, departments, organizations are all over to, you know, pitch membership and all that kind of thing. And we typically pick up about 1/3 of our membership. We've lost 2 of those in a row now. But our recruiting students have just been phenomenal. They've put together so many virtual recruiting sessions, question and answer sessions, and we've learned that these are actually valuable tools for us regardless of COVID. I think this is something that we're going to continue into the future. Obviously, there are many people who can come to Cal Day, but there are a lot of students who can't. It's either a matter of time or money or distance. And so to have these virtual Q&A sessions where people can tune in and, prospective students can ask, what's the band like? What do I need to be able to play? How do you guys travel? What opportunities are there? Has just been enormous. So we have seen a small hit. I think pretty much everybody around the country, as far as marching band goes, has seen a small reduction in membership. And it's not unique to marching bands. We're seeing it in, lots of co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Some people are excited to get back out and other people are going to take their fine, and that's fine. But 2 years ago, when I came to speak to everybody, we were sitting right at about 215 members. And currently we're at the high 190s. I think last time I looked at about 198, 199, something like that. So we actually weathered things pretty well. We've got good instrumentation throughout the band. We're not, particularly lacking in any particular area or not. The students are playing very well, and we're off to a great start. We've had 2 home games now in Memorial Stadium. We'll be actually taking 50 band members this weekend to UW. So if you're going to the UW game or you're watching it on TV, keep an ear out for us. We will be there. Hopefully no 2 a.m. finishes this year. That was exciting, especially because last year, our flight didn't leave until Sunday early afternoon. This year, I think our call time to go to the airport is like 3:30 a.m. So if that game ends late again, we're going to have to go straight to the airport. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So 72 and sunny sounds great. But in terms of, where we've come and where we've been, over the summer, we were able to really take a look at finances and get ready for the year ahead. And a sincere thank you to all of you who have contributed to our uniform fund. I am thrilled to tell you, as I told our alumni band this past weekend, that after verifying and counting again and counting other things and then coming back and counting again and re-verifying, we have raised $400,000 thanks to you and your generosity for new uniforms. And you can look forward to seeing those as early as next fall. And if not then, most likely, certainly by the fall after that. The only reason I can't guarantee them by next fall is just because who knows what's going to happen with supply chain shortages or whatever in the coming months. There's ripples that continue to affect the economy, but we're so enthralled with all the support that we've received. We had one of the best big give events for the band this past spring. So whether you've given $1 or any amount, thank you so much. It means the world to us, and we're so excited. It's a huge show of support and just something worth being excited about as we come out of quarantine and really prepare this band for the next 130 years. This is our 130th year. And we've got some big anniversaries coming up. Fall of 2023 will be the 50th anniversary of women in the Cal Band. And we're so excited to celebrate that. It is also the 100th anniversary of games being played in Memorial Stadium. First games were in 1923. So we're excited there. And yeah, I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but we're back in person. We're back in action. There's still some protocols obviously to follow. Knock on wood, we've had really great results so far in that we have not had any major issues with COVID. Everybody on campus has their little scare every now and then it's might be a tense 24 or 48 hours until things kind of calm down and you don't hear anything. We've only had that happen a handful of times, and as the students have been back on campus and moving into their dorms, they've continued to be tested. They're very conscientious. They're watching their distance around each other. People are just using their common sense and they're using it well. And we've been very fortunate for that. The university has been very clear that with the high vaccination rate and other protocols on campus that, you're in a pretty safe place on this campus around people who work and live here. So we obviously hope that continues and that we don't have any issues, but I have to say that I'm just very happy with how the students have been conducting themselves. So yeah, in terms of the rest of our season, we've still got several more home games. So if you haven't gotten your tickets and you're not going to come, please do. We love to see you. We love to see you on the field. If you were there this past Saturday, you saw our alumni band. We had 160 alums join us, which is a bit less than we had in 2019. The last time we had an in-person alumni band day. That year we had about 200. And of course, we expected that there would be a few less people this year just because, again, some folks would prefer not to travel yet. We absolutely understand. But we were thrilled to get 160, and it was by far the greatest percentage of younger alums that we've had. Of those 160, almost half, about 45%, were from Newman class of 2010 or later. And when we say Newman class, we mean their first year in band was in 2010 or later. So it was great for me, you know, this is my 4th year at Cal. It was great for me to see not just a few, but so many dozens of students that I recognized from when they were in the band while I was here. Obviously, it's great to see students who were in the band before I was here too, but you know, I love to see the different generations, and it's great to have our alums come back and support us and just be around to show their support for the new students and foster that camaraderie that we feel with our alumni band. And certainly to be able to have done a show together was an enormous amount of satisfaction for us. We've got Cal Band cooking show coming up, food themed show, culinary themed show for the October 2nd game. So look forward to that later in the season. We've got some K-pop. We've got a bunch of other stuff that I'm blanking on the top of my head because there's just so much going on right now, but they're all great shows. You're going to love them. It's going to be fantastic. We will be traveling. We'll be taking the whole band to the Arizona game. So if you're going to be in Tucson, you'll see the entire Cal band there. 20% battery remaining. I hope I'm good. After Thanksgiving, we'll be taking a bus of 50 down to Los Angeles for the UCLA game. We would love to take the full band to that game, but the fact that it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving just makes numbers and participation way too difficult, especially in a year like this. So, but we do look forward to doing that again soon when we can do it with the whole band. So that's kind of where things stand right now. It is week to week. You know, every Monday I come in and I wonder what's going to happen with COVID this week. What are we going to have to mitigate? What are we going to have to change? What curveballs are we going to be thrown? I have to really commend the students. They've just been fantastic with, you know, rolling with the punches and getting things back up and running. You know, it's funny because sometimes we'll be standing there at the end of the game. We'll go, what do we play for post game again? Oh yeah, it's in this order. Right. Okay. We have to kind of remind each other of all of those things. So yeah. I'm going to move on to some questions. I know that there have been some questions coming into the chat, and I'll take a look right now. Yeah, pregame, absolutely. So, and is there a change in the band uniform design? Where does the band travel this year? So again, yeah, Arizona and then UCLA. And how would you characterize the band's relationship with the athletic department, specifically with Jim Knowlton? So Jim has been very great. He's going to be here. I think we're going to have him next week or the week after that. You know, we've just been having a host of people come visit the band to say hi, to express their thanks for the support. We had Jeremy Geffen last week, who is the director of Cal Performances, my boss, basically, which was nice because it was his first formal introduction to the band. He came on board in early 2019, April 2019. And, you know, we didn't bother him during his first year because he's insanely busy. And then obviously last year there wasn't an opportunity. So it was great after almost more than 2 years to finally get the opportunity to introduce him in person to the band. And then also last week we had Carol Christ, Chancellor Christ, stop by, who absolutely loves the band, and you know, the band loves her. And it was like a celebrity on campus. You know, I had to beat the students back because they wanted to take all these pictures with her. I said, guys, you know, she's only here for a little bit. So we really appreciate that. We'll be having Jim come out soon. So we're looking forward to that. You know, we know that athletics is, you know, paying their way out of a financial hole, and we do get some support for them, and we appreciate it all very much. And I think that as the years go by, I'm excited to see how the band and athletics continue to grow together closer. And make that a relationship that is truly reflective of the kind of university that Cal is. As far as pregame, so our pregame show, those of you who know it, is one of the most recognizable and one of the most legendary in the country. It does result in a very crowded tunnel. There's just no way around it. You can't move the walls. And we were asked, you know, for the beginning of the season to go ahead and forego that. it was disappointing at first, but I have to say that that disappointment very quickly turned to a bit of relief. After 2 years of not doing marching band, it was actually quite nice for those first couple games to not have to worry about a full pregame show on top of a full halftime show. It gave us the time that we needed to really help our newest members and the ones that, you know, knew how to march, but obviously had never done it in person before, really focus on them and focus on making that show really smooth. You know, if I had to choose whether or not to do 2 good shows or 1 really great show after not performing for a whole season, I would have chosen the latter. So, you know, not to say that we appreciate being canceled, but it was sort of a silver lining to the situation. As things continue to evolve, I have been told that we've been asked to once again forgo it for at least the next coming game on the 2nd. And we'll have to see what happens for the season after that. There are adjustments that we can make to our pregame show. Of course, you know, they have to balance the needs and the health circumstances of the players. Obviously, you know, we've not had any problems, and we don't think that we're going to, as long as we continue to follow all of our protocols. A lot of people sort of seem to think that band is an inherently more dangerous activity because it involves wind instruments. There's really not much difference. If you look at a lot of the scientific studies, in fact, there's a study out of UK that has a rather large sample pool, and they've shown that playing a wind instrument actually produces less aerosol particles in the air around you than speaking or singing. And a lot of people also think that, you know, instruments are pumping air out like a leaf blower or a hair dryer, and that's just not true. It's a very, very small amount of air. It's about the size of a coffee stirrer that comes out of the instrument. So, you know, they have to balance those requirements with the city and the needs of the players, as well as, you know, the expectations and the needs of the fans. So if it's something that you're passionate about, we're obviously passionate about it. By all means, feel free to drop a line to athletics and let them know that you're excited to see that come back, and encourage them to help us, you know, find a way that we can do it. We know that there are some adjustments that we can make. We may not be able to do the tunnel piece, but we could certainly do a condensed wedge. If you've ever been in the Coliseum or other stadiums, when we take the full band on the field, typically what we do, it's called condensed wedge, where rather than coming running out of the stadium, we just line up everything in the end zone. But, you know, unlike halftime, we end our pregame show with a human tunnel, and we have the team come running through, and that's still, you know, a cause of concern. We certainly don't, even though we think that we're operating very safely and with the students' health as #1 priority, we still don't want to be the reason why, you know, somebody on the team might not be able to play or anything like that. So we understand it's a difficult situation. We're hoping that it can be restored soon. If it's something that you would like to see done and you want to encourage athletics to work with us on that and maybe see if we can do it sooner, that'd be great. And then as far as there's a question about uniforms, the uniform design will really not change too much. We're not looking to make much of a big change. A lot of the things that we're going to be changing, I mean, really the biggest reason for buying new uniforms is that the old ones are well beyond their lifespan. They were purchased around 2007, 2008, and the lifespan for a set of marching band uniforms is about 10 years. So we're well past that. You know, we've got lots of rips. We're fixing and sewing and stitching things all the time, week to week. And, you know, we definitely want to get new uniforms. A lot of the changes will be in the construction. You know, the front pocket that members keep a lot of their music in, it's behind the white cover, as well as the C on the back is going to move from being sort of a vertical rectangular shape to more of like a block square shape. So it's a little bit more bold. And maybe more recognizable from a larger distance. And the front of the jacket too will also feature a cutaway. So if you can imagine, you know, a typical dress jacket or something of that style with a bit of a cut up, so that our percussionists don't have to bunch up the fabric in order to get the harness under the uniform to then come out at the bottom. It'll also make the high step style that we use a lot easier as well too. But the spats will still be there. The hats will still be there. It's still going to be the same great Cal Band uniform that you're used to, with maybe a little bit of a brighter shade of blue and yellow, because, you know, it'll be newer. So we're excited about that. And lastly, the other big change that we're doing, we're going to move from 100% wool to a polyester wool blend. You know, about 20 years ago, poly wool blends were still fairly new, and it could be hit or miss. The construction could be pretty poor sometimes, or, you know, the dry cleaning could do a lot. Suffice to say, textile technology has come a long way in the past 21 years, and polyester wool blend is absolutely the way to go these days. It allows people to layer them better. They breathe better on hot days, and they insulate still just fine on cold days. So if I didn't tell you that, you probably wouldn't notice a difference. But for us, it's going to feel a lot more comfortable. So yeah, I'm happy to take more questions. And if there's anything I didn't get to, please let me know. I'm happy to update everybody, and I'm here. So.
For away games, do the band members have to pay their own way?
We are, with our budget, the band's budget, we are able to pay their transportation, so flight or bus, depending on the destination, and their lodging. We are not at this time able to provide any kind of per diem for food. That's a goal that we have. It is a fundraising goal. We would love to be able to give everybody, a per diem. I think it's generally 10, 10, 20, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know that for some members, to be able to purchase food at airport and restaurant prices is difficult for a full weekend. And so some of them will pack theirs, and some of them, they do their best to try to, nobody goes hungry. We're certainly not going to let that happen. But I am aware that there are some band members who maybe are eligible to sign up for trips that do think twice about it, and maybe decide not to do it because the food thing is just, it's a lot. So, but otherwise, the biggest costs we are able to pay, and we're looking forward to a day when, we can give out per diem just like we would any other team or organization that would travel and perform on behalf of the university.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt, before Rob has a question for you too, but I have one quick question. I couldn't tell through my binoculars, was that you on the sideline leading the band at halftime with the Elton John glasses on?
That was me. Yep. Our bases, our bases bought those sousaphone section, and they had an extra pair, and they gave me one, and I said, yeah, of course I'll wear them. So, my style sensibilities are catching on with the rest of the band. So yeah, glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So Rob has a question in chat. Does the band do specific fundraisers like auctioning off selection of a set list for a game, appearance at weddings, special events, and that sort of thing?
We do our NorCal banquet. You're all invited. The information is on our website. That's going to be in about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm honestly not sure. I know it's early to mid-October. Sorry, I'm hoping that, okay, 10% battery left. So I think we're good for several more minutes. Fundraising has been kind of difficult this past year. So we're just not sure what we can do. And so that's why we haven't really planned anything. It is absolutely our intention to have some kind of events or extra things. Right now, we're so laser focused on getting everything back up and running. And we're so pleased with how generous people have been throughout the pandemic with Big Give and a number of other events that, you're always fundraising, but I think the biggest gift that our donors have given us is just the breathing room to not have to make that an absolute priority right now at this specific time. We do want to get back into those ideas. I like the idea of auctioning off a set list. We've got a pretty cool idea. I can't go into too much detail about it, of, maybe getting something like on Spotify or Apple Music that if, people download it or buy it like an album, that could be some revenue that comes our way. So we're thinking about all these things. I'm continuing to challenge the students to do some research online, and let's find out where all of the Cal Athletics alumni are. What teams are they playing for? Men's, women's, soccer, baseball, basketball, all that stuff, and start to write up some letters and get in touch with some agents and say, hey, your band at your alma mater could use your help if you're able to throw something our way. Related to that idea, I think somebody asked earlier, or I think I might have seen it in the chat earlier. Somebody said, "What is if we have the $400,000? What is our next big project?" Our next big project is instruments. We need instruments. We've got instruments now. Yes, some of them are older than me, and many of them you can see where they've been soldered or put back together countless times. Who has any idea? We've got a couple students right now who are playing flutes while we wait on some new piccolos to arrive. We were able to purchase just a few, and the rest of the section is either on flutes, or we've had some alumni generously donate for temporary use, their own piccolos. And our basses are in rough shape. It's time to replace those. Unlike uniforms, instruments have a longer life, assuming you maintain and take care of them, about 20 to 30 years. And we're looking at making a large purchase of all new instruments that would be more in line with what the caliber of the band is meant to be. This is really meant to be run like a professional band. You know, we're very proud that we're an amateur organization, but we do strive to conduct ourselves as professionals. And that means instruments that have proper sized bores and F triggers on your trombones and large bore mouthpieces on the euphoniums. These are adults now. These are young adults. They're not sixth graders anymore. We're very appreciative when people want to step up and donate, you know, their old trombone. We appreciate that. It's useful, but it's also, you know, it's a student model trombone, and we want to give our students, you know, instruments that are fitting for their level of development. And as far as volume goes, I can take the exact same number of students that we currently have, and if you put a professional instrument in your hand with a slightly thicker metallic wall and a little bit larger, you know, 1/100th of an inch in the opening size on a trumpet makes a big difference. You can add 20 or 30% volume right there. It's also a recruiting tactic, you know. People come to us and we're always thrilled, but you know, if you look at a band and the instruments are visibly aged, and then maybe in some circumstances, maybe, you know, in considerably poorer condition than what your high school was able to give you for 4 years is what we're able to give you. Versus a band that has brand new instruments, it's the same color, gold, you know, or silver throughout the whole band. It just says a lot without even having to open your mouth about the band and what the organization means. We have a seed fund. Very generous donor has stepped up to purchase 16 new sousaphones. That's a cost of about $120,000. The total cost to provide every student in the Cal Band an instrument of professional quality is about $500,000 to $600,000. Which is slightly more than what we raised for our uniforms. But it is an investment that, again, will last for 20 or 30 years. And when those instruments are all purchased from a single manufacturer, it makes our job easier still, because when we go to order replacement parts right now, or if we go to make our own small repairs, we have to cobble parts together. We have to contact, you know, this manufacturer over here for this clarinet part and this manufacturer over there for that clarinet part. If you're all Yamaha or whatever, you just keep a stock of these parts and you just replenish every year. It makes the student's job infinitely easier as far as that goes. It makes the repairs a lot easier, a lot simpler, a lot cheaper. So, you know, it's the age-old argument. Sometimes you got to spend money to make money, or at least save money. So we're looking forward to that.
Do students who wish to join the band have to audition and meet certain standards?
Yes, it is part of the application process. There's a two-part audition process. We do a remote audition, which we did prior to the pandemic, so that's nothing new. Those are due typically about early to middle July, and all the information is in touch. We have students fill out an information form, and we match them up with a veteran of the band, an older member, so that they have the direct contact and name, phone number, and an email address of a current band member that they can contact if they have questions about their auditions. You know, am I playing this right? How could I play this better? Please let me know. And we listen to all of those auditions when they come in. We make decisions based on what we know about them. You know, we don't just listen to the auditions blindly. We listen to all the auditions. We evaluate them on a just strictly a musical basis in terms of technique. We also look at a little bit of biographical information that they submit about, you know, their past training or whatnot, or what they have. And we're not just looking for band experience. We're looking for, you know, we've got lots of students who I've never been in marching band, but I know how to read music because I've been in choir and I can smash a pair of cymbals together in time, I think. And so we say, great. You know, we always want to have a place in this band for the student that their high school didn't have a marching band, or, you know, they did, but it wasn't, you know, very big because the whole school only had 100 students in it or something like that. So it is part of the audition process, or part of the application process. And after that first phase, we issue invitations to FTP, which is the second part of the audition. And that's where we actually bring them to campus. We put them through band camp. We teach them how to march. We watch how they move. We watch how they blend in with the group. We see how they respond to instruction. We see what kinds of work they can do, and just, you know, if they're a good fit for us, if we're a good fit for them. And based on that, afterwards, we issue invitations to join the band. So Music is part of it. It is not the only deciding factor, and I feel should not be the only deciding factor. And I think the students agree as well. And the nice thing about all of this is that by that point, if a student is not right for us or we're not right for them, they've kind of figured it out on their own. And so we don't really have to tell people, sorry, you're not in, that's happened so rarely. I think I could easily count on the number of times in my time here at Cal that's happened. So it's kind of nice to have, a longer audition process where we can really, get to know each other rather than just a yes or a no checkbox on a virtual form, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Matt Mary wants to know if there's a special show plan for Big Game.
Big game, yeah. Well, we're planning to head down to the farm for that one. What is our show for that? I think it's the Revenge of Disco show. I'm not sure. It's one that the students are arranging. I know it's going to be great. So, short answer, yes.
All right, great. Okay. Any other questions? Patty is suggesting an adopt an instrument opportunity.
Yes, yeah, that's something that thank you, Patty. Yeah, we're going to work on that so that we can, if people, well, gee, I can't buy a whole section of sousaphones, but maybe I could buy a clarinet, or maybe I could buy a piccolo or something. We would like to make that information available so that people can see, hey, if I donate this much, it'll buy, half a clarinet or something like that. Yeah, we definitely want to do that.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a question for Matt before his phone dies on him?
I'm so sorry. I know I charged it.
All right.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure. Mhm.
Years ago, I heard about Cal's band being humiliated by the Ohio State band at a Rose Bowl. And I think Cal then decided to copy Ohio State's band in uniforms, cadence, the marching steps. So is that something that you guys still keep some kind of a contact with Ohio State?
Well, you're exactly right. Yes. So I think it was the 1950 or 51 Rose Bowl is when that happened. And, the Cal band at that point was, had turned into a bit of a fraternity among, World War II veterans, and was not exactly in the greatest of shape performance wise. And they were able to obtain the film reel of the halftime show. And without any audio, they studied the marching. I think they might have had some connection with some of the current, but they really kind of lifted the style and made it their own. We do a lot of the things that Ohio State does, but we don't necessarily call it by the same terms. Much of the country, you have drill, you march drill on the field. We call it continuities. Other places, they might say, hit your dot, you've got to hit your dot. And we say, follow the line. So it's interesting to me as somebody who grew up in Michigan and, Michigan State, Ohio State, all the Midwest bands, the high step. I did all of that throughout my youth. And so to come out here and see the same thing, but in different clothing is very interesting. We don't maintain any kind of formal or official connection with Ohio State. I do know that several years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, sometime before my arrival, but not too long ago, Ohio State did play Cal, and the entire Ohio State band came out to Cal, and they were able to do a joint show and talk with each other and mingle, and that was really great. The other band that we have a connection to is actually the University of Illinois band. Our mascot is named Oski, O-S-K-I, and that comes from the University of Illinois. Their band plays a piece called the Oski Wow Wow, O-S-K-E-E. So that comes from them too. And when they were out here for the Red Box Bowl at the end of 2019, we were actually able to host them on campus, have a rehearsal, let them have a rehearsal in our stadium, and get to mingle with them a little bit. And it was just really exciting to have that too. So no formal connections, but that being said, as soon as we see Ohio State on the schedule, whether it's a home game or an away game, we are definitely going to try to get the whole band there. So yeah, I will be honest that I'm a little ambiguous about it because I grew up in Michigan, and of course we hate Ohio State, but you can't deny that they have a fabulous band. I mean, it's a great band. Is it the best damn band in the land? No, that's us. But it's still pretty good. So we don't mind the association one bit. 1951 Rose Bowl. That's correct. Yeah, at the end of the 1950 season. Correct. Yep.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Matt? Larry would like to know any chance of the band going to Notre Dame next year?
I would love to do that. Yeah, I didn't even know we were playing Notre Dame yet. So we're just not even there yet. But yeah, if that's an option, that'd be great. I don't know that the band will be able to pay for it all on its own, but we'll see. And we'll certainly try to get a small band there. I've been to Notre Dame's campus. I traveled there with the UGA Redcoat Band many years ago, and it's a beautiful campus. And I would love to go back. And if we can get the whole band there, we would absolutely love to do so. Yeah. I want to
Okay,
invite all of you, if you're on campus, if you see us marching, come up, say hi. I love to talk with people, love to shake hands or, fist bump, whatever we're doing in the age of COVID. So if you're on campus for a game and you see me in the stands or on the street, say hi, introduce yourself. It'd be great to talk to you.
all right. Matt, as always, this has been great. Always fantastic to have you here. You're welcome anytime and every time. Love to have you back again. I think that what we should do is I would like everybody, if they could unmute themselves. I think Matt needs a good Cal Band great before he signs off here. So if everybody could go ahead and unmute, and on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cal Band great.
Woo!
Pretty
Thank you all
impressive,
so
huh,
much.
Matt?
Thank you all so much.
Cal
Yeah,
Band
it's
great.
always a
Cal
pleasure to be
Band
here. I really
great.
enjoy it.
Yeah, great.
Good job.
Cal Band great.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all so much.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Matt,
Thank
again.
you.
Hold on.
All right.
And we'll see you at least on TV on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And hopefully hear us too.
Yes, definitely.
It was
Great.
great. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks again.
Good job.
Thank you, Matt.
Go Bears.
Go
Go
Bears.
Bears.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay. All right. So that's it for tonight. Again, thanks, Matt, for being here. Always a pleasure. One thing I would like to that Matt kind of alluded to was Cal Day. And if any of you have not been to Cal Day, I would recommend going. I mean, Matt is correct. It's essentially for new students or people considering going to Cal. But really, it's basically just a whole open house. I like to say it's sort of Cal equivalent to Picnic Day at Davis, but it is kind of a different thing. But we go all the time. I mean, we go almost every year. And there's way more to do than you have time to do. It's not that long of a day. It's like from 10 to 5 or 10 to 6. But everything is open on campus, all the museums, everything. There's lots of tours. I took a tour a few years ago of the dorms to see how they had changed since 1975. Spoiler alert, they've changed a lot. But it's really interesting. There's lots of tours and all kinds of stuff to do up there, things that you didn't even realize are there. So Cal Day on the Cal website, there's all the activities and you can plan it out and everything. So I really recommend, it's usually in April, and to go if you haven't had a chance. So with that, I thank everybody again for being here. It was, Matt is always just fantastic to have with us, always gives us a lot of good information. And keep an eye out for next week. Hopefully, if we don't have if I can't get a speaker confirmed for next week, we will do a planning meeting. So I really encourage everybody to please come to that, so that you can help us figure out what, where does Sac Bears Cal fans go from here? So with that, everybody, let's have a great game up in Washington. For those of you that are going, have a safe trip, bring back a win, and we'll see you all next week. And everybody, go Bears.
Go Bears. Thank you, Gary.
All right,
Bears.
thank you.
Bye, Gary.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Good night.
Good night.